Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where entrepreneurs and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable people, places, and things across the country and in your town. Joining me on this segment, Dr. Vance Hardisty. He's the president of Renewal International. It's a nonprofit. Dr. Vance, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you here.
Vance, tell us about Renewal International and who are the folks that you help?
Renewal International, we've been around for probably, since 1983, and so long time. But right now, we're focused on training pastors and teachers, laymen, but mainly pastors and teachers internationally who have little or no training themselves and have few finances. And so we specialize in international pastors in rural areas, in countries around the world where most Americans just won't go.
So I know they're doing very important work. They're passionate about it. What are the types of things that they are looking for training for that you help them with specifically?
That's an excellent question. When we began doing this, the training on an international basis, years ago, we began asking, because with all my training, all my seminary training, I had like 18, 19, what I thought were very important topics. Always at the top of each one of these groups' lists were basically three things. First of all, they wanted to know how to have a godly walk. In other words, they wanted to be in close connection with the Lord. Second, they wanted to have a godly marriage. Third, they wanted to raise great kids. And so, you know what, I got with my board. They said, look, focus. And that's where we spend the majority of our time now, is training on how to have a godly marriage and how to raise godly kids.
A big question that's happening throughout this pandemic we're experiencing now. People want to know, how is this affecting people in different industries and across the country and around the world? How has this affected your work and the folks that you help? What have you been hearing?
Oh my goodness. We had to book. It was hard work to get to all these organizations. So a year ago in November, I spent a month in India going from place to place to place. And when the pandemic hit, obviously all of our future seminars were cut off. But suddenly all these groups, even in the most rural areas, were available by Zoom. And so our calendar has exploded. We're booking months and months in advance for organizations and groups all around Kenya and Liberia and Uganda and South Africa and India. And it's just everywhere because they're so eager to learn. And now it's a whole lot easier. So our organization has exploded.
Pastors that seek your help, that have been undertrained, have little finances, what are some of the biggest challenges that they're looking to overcome? What is it that they seek, and how does it improve their lives and their mission working with you?
Okay, it's superb. A lot of them have some good theology training, some Bible training, but when we come in, we find out that the majority of these guys, and what they've said over and over to us, both men and women, is we were raised without examples of how to have a godly marriage. We were raised without how to raise our kids. I had one guy call me and said, I watched my parents being murdered when I was 9 years old. He says, I have no idea how to raise a family. And so when we come in and we don't give them American theology or African theology or Indian theology, China. We give them biblical principles of how to have a great relationship, a great marriage, and how to raise good, godly kids. And it revolutionizes what they do, because then we actually supply them with my notes, verbatim notes, everything. They take it back and then they teach it in their churches. So not only does it change their marriage, I could read you testimony after testimony after testimonial. In fact, the one I'm looking at right now on my screen, he didn't even want to come to the seminar because he and his wife had filed a divorce. They were done. But they heard about the seminar. They flew in from a neighboring city. They attended the seminar, and they said, the second day, and it says, I could read it, but it'll take too much time. He said the second day, he says, I took my wife outside. I apologized to her. I asked her forgiveness, and he said, our marriage changed. He said, radically. He says, we got home, we canceled the divorce. Thank you so much. And so now these are two pastors. This is a pastor and his wife who are both pastoring a church. Do you not think that that impacts their lives? And so, yeah, that's how it's changing, because not only is it changing their lives and their relationships, they're then taking the material and turning around and teaching it to their entire church. And their church's lives are changing.
Powerful impact, and of course, a great example, and to share that message. So, Dr. Vance, tell us a little bit about how you got inspired and how you got started in coaching and speaking and helping pastors.
That's good. My parents. I was on the road with my parents speaking when they put me up on stage at 4 years old, believe it or not. And but then God called me into ministry at 16. I began teaching and training. We've been, as I said, working in this area since I can remember. But it wasn't until just about 5 years ago, I began teaching on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, I'd left a pastorate because the church was going a different direction, and so I began teaching on LinkedIn. And the overwhelming response was not from American pastors; it was from pastors all around the world. And so we just began going where the need was. And when we began, like I said, we began asking them, what is it that you need most? And this is the subject that came to the surface. And I had watched my parents. My mom wrote international bestsellers, sold over 1 million books on marriage and family. And I watched 57 years of powerful, dynamic marriage with my parents, 35 years of wonderful marriage with my incredible wife. And so we just took our experience, the truth from the Bible, and we began to relate it to others. And like I said, the ministry has just exploded, and we are seeing an impact that is not. Okay, so Mark, some people love the testimonials, and I've got lists of them. Other people are numbers guys, Mm-hmm. And so here's what we see, for a businessman. Here's what our ROI is, believe it or not. So when I talk to one pastor, he's got a church that's got a minimum of about 100 people. Our goal is to train 1 million pastors. But when I train 1 million pastors, I've reached 100 million people just in his church. And that doesn't count the kids and the generations that we impact, because Mark, you know how important it is when you have a good marriage and you pass it on to your kids pass it on to their kids. You're literally impacting 3 generations of people by living a godly life and having a godly marriage. So that's why we do what we do.
Terrific impact, results multiplied. Absolutely. I believe in that wholeheartedly, training the trainer to help spread that message to the folks that need it the most. Dr. Vance, before I ask you my last question, is there anything I didn't think to ask you, or an important message that you'd like to share for my audience?
We run into, I have a lot of, I was a businessman for years, so I understand the importance of putting $1 in, and you don't want $1 out, you want $10 back out. I understand that. And that's what we've tried to, ministry is a different animal, and you want to be able to see it make impact, but sometimes the eternal, you can't relate it to that, that dollar to dollar. And yet at the same time, what we've tried to do is, and this is why so many businessmen are coming alongside of us, is because they're working every single day and they're good at what they do. And they got money flowing in, and they've got, they got good bank accounts, but they go, wait a minute, is this all there is to life? And so businessmen are coming alongside of us going, oh, wow. You mean to say that when I give you X amount of dollars, it all goes to the ground? Yes, because my wife and I, we have our income. So the money doesn't go into our pockets. It goes to ground, all of it. And so that's, so all I can say is that, if there's businessmen and they're looking to see eternal impact out of what they do because of their effectiveness working with the dollar and working with their businesses, but they want to see something beyond that, something eternal, something international, that's why we're here, because that's what we're doing.
Terrific. Vance, for our listeners out there resonating with your message that would love to learn more, connect with you, perhaps work with you, how do they find you?
Okay, that's good. My email address is very simple. It's Dr. Vance, DrVance @VanceHardisty.com. And then our website at renewalinternational.com. It's that simple. You can log on there. If you don't remember the email address, I mean, you can log on to the website and you can get us that way. But you'll be able to see what we do, the different languages we've translated in, some of the, the work. We've got a lot of it up there, and the seminars that we're putting on, and some of the videos and the testimony. Anyway, it's all there, and we'd love to have you a part of what we do. We just, our team is growing radically every day, and we're excited because lives are getting changed, marriages are changed, families are, and I mean, what better way to spend your life than seeing impact eternally and daily in people's lives?
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I appreciate your time sharing with my audience today. I wish you continued success for you and Renewal International, and for all of your work and your mission.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mark. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Dr. Vance Hardisty, president of Renewal International. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where professionals and entrepreneurs publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. Join me for my next Expert Spotlight. I'm Mark Imperial.